Next, we want to think, how can we get unstuck? How can we move from our now version to our future desired version? We need another set of resources, a new set of skills, knowledge, strategies. Not only is change not linear, but if you've been trying to create change for a really long time and it's just not been working, you're still stuck, then you've just been trying to create change in the wrong way. That's good news, because if we can create change in the right way, then we can create change more easily and quicker. So when I say change isn't linear, if you've been trying to create change for 5 years or 10 years, it doesn't mean creating new positive change is going to take you 5 or 10 years or 10,000 hours or 40 days, whatever social convention wants to have us believe. The speed of change is kind of up to you in terms of what you believe can happen and the layers you need to work through. When I fully recovered from severe chronic fatigue syndrome, I had it for 3 to 4 years. I was able to fully recover in 3 days. The PMDD I had for at least 2 years severely, and I was able to fully recover within probably 8 months. It just required a lot deeper healing. When we have a belief around a time frame or how long it's going to take or what that journey is going to be like, that is creating blocks and resistance to how quickly, how easily, and how enjoyably that change is going to. It's really important to understand that because the brain is plastic, it's changing, growing, and developing as a result of how we use it. Because the brain doesn't understand the difference between what is real and imaginary, we can accelerate that process or kind of like trick the brain into creating change really quick. As you discovered, it can be a lot easier than we think through that neuro warm-up. When we just recited our postcode or number backwards, it suddenly became much easier and much quicker the more we did it. The other interesting thing is when we're looking at creating that future version or our desired result and resistance arises, is looking at, okay, why is this resistance arising? I had a one-to-one client and I love doing weekly accountability. It's one of the most important strategies we do together. I noticed that it was becoming an issue. It wasn't being done. I wanted to check in. Hey, I've just been noticing, I'm feeling that you're doing some resistance around this. It's not being done. Is this because you're doing perfectionism, and when you fill it in, you feel that you can't be perfect and you're a bit embarrassed about what your week has looked like? She was like, yeah, all of what you just said is completely true. So then we had to readjust her perspective by doing the accountability. Not only can we look back on how amazing your week has been, which we're doing with gratitude, celebrating your progress, but also it means we can look forward and make your next week even better. This was enough to move past that resistance, because often it's just this part of us that's rising up that's a bit scared. It can be a bit strange, but we can be addicted to stuckness, as we're going to find out. We can be scared about, well, what happens when I start succeeding? What happens when I start being really healthy? Because often the mind and body is unconsciously kind of stopping us and keeping us stuck, because that's our safe space, although at the same time we can be like, this is fucking miserable. What's coming up here? Where is the root of this coming? So we can move forward with love and kindness. Often when I see an individual becoming stuck, these are the most common thoughts. I'm a stressed person, I'm an anxious person, I'm not good enough, I am going to fail, I can't do this, so and so is better than me. Or they're thinking about and listing out in their mind everything that could go wrong about a situation or when they achieve this goal. When we have these kind of limiting thoughts, this activates more feelings, because feelings create thoughts, thoughts create feelings. These thoughts activate limiting feelings and thoughts that are connected to this language. So if we're feeling stressed, it's creating stressful feelings. And then we have stressful thoughts like, oh, I don't have enough time, or I don't have the resources, or I'm going to miss the deadline. And that creates more unhelpful thoughts and feelings. This then unconsciously influences our decisions, choices, habits, how we are showing up in our day to day. Then we start showing up as a stressed person. And that can be very unhelpful in itself, because you might have this buzzing feeling through your body. We could be on the way to burnout now. We make choices from stress not being good enough. They're never the best choices. As you've probably experienced, The things that we need to stay focused on in these challenging and high pressure moments, such as self-care, are like the first things that we sacrifice. Then what happens is your brain is now going to edit your reality. This is a really interesting process it does automatically. But we'll stick with the example of stress. Once you're doing stress, you're feeling stress, you're showing up from a stressed state, your brain is going, they really like doing stress. This is interesting. I'm going to help them do stress more because that's clearly what they want to do, as they're thinking and feeling it a lot. So I'm going to highlight to them in their world all of the things that are super stressful because this is what's going to help them. And I'm going to hide the things that will make them feel calm and comfortable because clearly they don't want that. What happens is we're now seeing things that make us stressed everywhere. And that triggers more stress and more stressful thoughts and more stressful feelings. Now we're starting to become stuck because stress, as we're doing it again and again and again, it's becoming more familiar to us and quite comfortable. This is when you see people in survival mode. They say, I thrive off it. Maybe you've even said, I love being in a stress state. I get so much done. The problem is they don't know how to operate from a calm and focused place when you're in flow. What happens now is your neural pathways are getting really good at doing stress. They become better, stronger, and faster at their job. So it now becomes very easy and automatic for you to think and feel in stressful ways now and in the future. Because your brain is editing your environment, your world for stress, it's really easy for you to think and feel in stressful ways. All the little things that maybe a calm person wouldn't stress about, they become your mountains. You can see this especially in London when you have commuters. Everyone is rushing around at full speed. If they're late for a train, but the next one's in 2 minutes, they're getting really stressed. Or if you're stuck in traffic, you're getting road rage. These are all signs you're in survival mode and you're doing a stress state. The brain is going, oh, that's so annoying. Look how stressed this is making us. This is how we get stuck doing certain feelings and thoughts. Next, we're going to look at the downward spiral of stuckness, which is quite similar. Again, it's starting with a limiting thought. What happens is that limiting thought then increases the limiting feelings. When it comes to performance, then what happens is we start making mistakes. We start falling short of our potential and our expectations. We can get distracted easily. We can do procrastination. Increases our self-doubt around our abilities because we're making mistakes. Our work isn't good enough. We're not good enough. This creates more unhelpful self-talk, more unhelpful feelings, more unhelpful habits and actions, choices, decisions. We start to have this increased sense of negativity and pessimism. Maybe helplessness and hopelessness is now creeping in. Then we make more mistakes. We fall further of our potential. We beat ourselves up more. And then down and down we go. Although the spiral and the feedback loop is extremely similar, some people align more with the loop and some people can relate more to the spiral. Do you relate to the spiral or to the loop more? The good news is we are going to blow this up in just a moment. Before we do, I just want us to look at what happens in the brain. Your brain is like Google Maps. When you put in where you want to go, for example, stress, it's going to take you down the quickest route, the neuro highway for stress. So you get there in the quickest time with the least amount of detours, roadworks, and traffic. So you arrive there really quickly. It's not going to take you down the country roads because they're winding, slow, terribly bumpy. So then you arrive at your destination, such as stress, in a really quick time. And the brain's like, we did a great job. Just as Google Maps is like, hooray, we arrived at your destination in X minutes. This is 5 minutes faster than what we predicted. Your brain is kind of the same. It's like, woo, we arrived at the destination she wants at the quickest amount of time, even though that may be not the destination you want. The more and more we use a neuro pathway, the more and more we travel down a certain road, it builds it up and up and up until it's like this neuro super highway to a result we don't want, which is why it can feel like we're always doing the thing we don't want, because that's literally how we've wired our brain. We want to, as I said, explode this apart. Super fun. Starts with changing one thought, one feeling. Because just as in stuckness, a thought activates limiting feelings, it's the opposite for thriving. A great thought can activate great feelings. Then we start showing up as our best self. As I mentioned at the beginning when setting our intention, I have a client who has this positive affirmation that she is leading with calm, confidence, and power. What this thought does is it's now activating calm, joyful, and powerful feelings. It reminds her to not show up from stress, chaos, or overwhelm, but to show up from calm, joy, and power. Now she is making decisions in her leadership role from these feelings. Just as if you were to think a more helpful thought, you'd activate more helpful feelings, you would then start to show up from this place instead, make choices, decisions, responses, and habits from I can overcome this, I can do this, I have got this, I'm getting better and better, or all the amazing things that are going to go well with this situation. Now your brain is like, they're thinking and feeling this more and more. Well, let's make that their reality now. Your brain will edit out all of those things that used to cause you stress. Your train is now 5 minutes delayed. That's nice. We now have 5 minutes more to chill and listen to our favorite podcast or audiobook. Maybe the guy cuts you up. Instead of having road rage, the brain goes, oh, that's cool. One less awful driver to worry about behind us. So your brain will edit your reality according to what you tell it to look for on an unconscious or conscious basis. So we want to get your brain to edit your reality so it's amazing. So you feel really grateful. So you're like, yes, I can do this. It's going to edit it for confidence, personal power, for all those amazing things. And it will hide all the stuff that doesn't serve you. Then this is going to create more thoughts and more feelings that are going to help you live your highest potential. Now you're going to be more comfortable, more familiar with feeling these joyful things. When we're coming out of survival mode, some of the most powerful thing you can do is actually teach your body, this is how to feel calm. Get familiar with feeling calm. You can often hear people when they're coming down from survival mode or they enter a healthy relationship, they're like, oh, this is so boring, because they're not used to feeling inner peace and calm. We want to get familiar and comfortable with more of these healthy and amazing, life-serving feelings and thoughts. Then this is going to activate and strengthen and make better at their jobs those really powerful, helpful neuropathways. Your brain is now rebuilding itself to think, feel, and act automatically, unconsciously in this helpful way. Then it automatically starts triggering these really great thoughts. For example, when I was doing chronic fatigue syndrome, I was stuck doing I'm tired. To get out of that, and that was like stuck on a broken record, as if on repeat was I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired, and I couldn't change the song. Like that was the only track it played. But by learning how to rewire my brain, I was able to enter the thriving feedback loop and have calm energy and activate those thoughts and feelings, and then be able to play whatever music I wanted that created more of those good feelings. And then we come to the upward spiral. So we have more, so this starts kind of at the bottom with the life and performance enhancing thoughts and feelings, which creates more performance, life enhancing thoughts and feelings. And now we have an increased sense of confidence. We not only believe we can achieve the outcome we desire, but we believe in our skills and capabilities. We know we can do whatever it takes. So we're more positive and optimistic. And then that creates this amazing evidence, because we're looking back and we're like, wow, look at all the things we've done that's going to help us achieve our next goal. Like we look back behind ourselves like, wow, we've done all of this amazing stuff, instead of looking behind us and be like, oh, it's never gone right. Oh, it never works out. We're going, wow, it is working out and it has worked out and we can do this. We have succeeded in the past. So we're uncovering solutions. We're learning from challenges. We're not failing, we're learning. We're exceeding our expectations, focused, productive, getting great results, which creates more confidence, which then pumps up our motivation, increasing our productivity, increasing our focus. We're getting better results. We're learning every day, and up and up and up we go. How does the upward spiral and that thriving feedback loop sit with you guys? Does it make sense? Do you see how you can start to enter the upward spiral and the thriving or the positive feedback loop? Let me know in the chat or in the comments below if you're watching on replay. When we start activating and strengthening those neural pathways, we then build that neuro superhighway to our desired results, such as confidence and self-doubt. That becomes the thing we don't want to do anymore. That becomes the country road. And in the brain, it actually gets further away. So for example, if we're like, oh, physics is so boring, that will be physics and boring is the neuro superhighway. But then say, and it grows together, it gets really strong, it's easy to activate. So when we think of physics, we're like, oh my God, it's so dull. But then maybe you have this like amazing physics teacher who comes in, who just brings the entire subject to life. Then what happens is physics and boring, that departs and separates and, is very now hard to activate. And then what comes in is physics and fun. And then that becomes the neuro superhighway.